water and they would fall into the pits of hell. Unfortunately, they took us with them. You know, but it's what made it all kind of come together. I can reflect on the equipment. This equipment you got here is phenomenal. We had a travel trailer, about a 28-foot travel trailer. That was our command center. And we learned immediately, like Mr. Edwards talked about, the first car that went off Pensacola Bay Bridge, the new bridge, but we hauled butt down that old pier with the command center and all the stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, when the rescue is over with, somebody says, how are we going to get this trailer off this bridge? It wasn't like there was a turnaround, you know. So I remember spending some 3 hours taking turns, us back a little bit, and we'd bump the bridge, and we'd pull up, and we'd back all the way off the Gulf Breeze side of Pensacola Bay Bridge with that trailer. Again, it was a learning process. We had an old deuce and half. No windows on the side, and Ken can remember the tornadoes we went to in Milton and Crestview. It was brutal. You can have windows and heaters and stuff. You just fought the element to get to wherever you were going and hope that you remembered to bring what all there was. We had a school bus. That was our lunch wagon. And I'm telling you what, it provided some very wholesome meals and coffee, you know, in the beginning. And then various and sundry. I think what was so unique were the volunteers that they brought stuff. It's unimaginable what they had in their garage at their beckoning call, that they would come to the rescue sites that we would have. And again, we were in the learning process. All of it was, we were trying to capture ideas. But from those early days, we found a proper way to go out and recover a body. First time, we used to just get in the water and everybody swim in different directions. And then somebody came up with the idea when they started finding the body, it was pretty well where they were last seen. So first thing we would do, rather than go jump in the water, we would talk to people and say, where did you last see them? Well, I saw them over there by that big tree. Well, we would start there. We'd go to the big tree or the buoy, and believe it or not, that's where we would find them. And then after a period of time, then of course the body decays, it would go with the current. We learned how to read currents. We learned how to put, through the Navy and through all the experiences that people involved, we learned how to put up patterns to do things. I'll tell you one thing we learned on Escambia River, we learned that when you dynamite the river to get a body out of the bottom, you damn sure better make sure it's got plenty of bricks on it. Y'all remember that when we dropped the dynamite in, it came down all the rescue boats down the river and it started blowing dynamite up beside the boats. And, I mean, why it didn't sink the boat, it was beyond us, but we learned the next time we need more bricks on the dynamite sticks. We had like 5 sticks in a wad, and we were way down river.
We lost that member, by the way, that was driving the boat. What happened was we backed up with all this mixture, you know, of this stuff these hippies go for, you know, this fertilizer, and he wadded it all up and put 3 sticks of dynamite in it, put the primer cord on it, and lit it, and they said, all right, he said, are you ready to throw it over? He said, yes, I'd throw it. So the guy driving the boat, Petrie, the guy that run the Petrie store downtown, you well know it, he was driving the boat, and when he had started to move, it stalled, and the guy had just thrown it over. And it stalled, and he's going, and now all the time it's going, Gene was trying to climb over to touch where the windshield. And here we are, right over the top of that thing, you know. And so finally the guy said, well, just relax, it'll crank. So it did, and boy, we took off. We didn't get too far. You could see bluegill coming up, you know. Long story short, Gene left the unit after that. He said, I don't need no more of that. I'll get another unit, but not both of them.
Can you imagine today if you did stuff that we did?
How come we don't have dynamite?
And we don't even know where it came from. We just knew after the first round that you needed more bricks. But we were all sitting down river, we're going to watch it go, and next thing you know, a charge went off beside this boat, and one went off, and then where do you jump? You sure don't jump in the water. But it's funny when you reflect back that we didn't even know. I mean, we were just struggling to try to do something to, we found out in the Gulf of Mexico one night that a riptide would get divers too. We went out there looking for it. We all ran out there in the riptide. Next thing you knew, we were all floating in mid-Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it goes on, and why we didn't lose members. God had his hand on Escambia Search and Rescue. And that brings me to basically where I am right now. The conclusion is, you know, through the years, I'm sure you've fought battles. There's no way that you can pay people to go spend 15, 16, 18, 20 hours to sleep in the back of a vehicle, to freeze half to death in the freezing weather and tell their kids we can't go on our vacation right now because we've got someone lost, to skip dinner. I mean, how many of y'all ever missed dinner going out for a big night? Got to go on a rescue. I mean, you don't pay people. You can't pay people to do that, to give of themselves unselfishly. And I think it's a unique gene that you all have, that just you're driven to do more for people in the area around you. And on that same hand, you have those that are adversaries. I remember EE one day behind the high patrol station drew a line in the sand and told the news media, you come across that line, we're all gonna whip your ass. Because it was, I mean, that's what was in survival. Excuse the language, but that's what we did to survive. We had adversaries, and we had people that, well, why did you take you so long to find them? Why did you go left rather than go right? But you know, when you look back at all the adversities and all the frustrations that you've felt, and it's been felt for 50 years, trust me, there's people that load their family in boats and go to the river. There's people that go hunting. There's people that go camping. There's people with mentally impaired relatives that are trying to live with them. They all go to bed at night thanking God that you're out here, because you're the people that will go get them in the time of need. And I think that's phenomenal for any rescue squad. So I don't want to belabor this. I'm just telling you, you've got a wonderful and colorful history. And even today, if you stop and reflect on what you've done, it's like I said, every one of you've got a story to tell. And if you try to sit down and tell somebody, we bored them to death at Denny's this morning. People were even coming over, you know, to visit. But this group here, as we got a chance to get back and reflect over the beginning of time, the beginning of the rescue squad, it's just really been phenomenal. So that said, let me just say, God bless all of you. And I'm going to take a minute here, and I want to recognize, you know, this group that's here. But as I was going through I guess memorabilia from the family a few years ago, I found the plaque that was given to my father from the rescue squad, Director Emeritus and so forth. And so I was faced with, well, what do I do with it? It's certainly way too valuable to throw away. And so in talking with my sister and other members of the family that was alive at that time, I thought, well, gee, maybe it'd be fitting. If you wanted it back, I would gladly bring it back and give it to you. And as I sat there and I looked at it, it was rough and scratched up, and my wife says, well, let's go get it reframed. And I said, well, that's a great idea. Go back and have it redone. Then I thought, every scratch, every fade, every nick, every faded part of it is reflective of the commitments that you've made and everybody's made through the years. So I thought it'd be fitting just bring it back like we look after 50 years. Let it look as weathered, because I hope you take it and if you want to display it, and certainly I think it's in memory of all of us, all through. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me back.
Hold on, Andy. I'm gonna take a picture. Let me get a picture.
Shake his hand again pretty please. Slow
Okay.
cameras.
And I'd like to get the whole group up here.
And
Won't get all y'all.
Well, I
I'll
don't
tell you
have a
this.
flash.
if
I ain't
we-
got the flash working,
it's the
so.
board of directors, and we're gonna take the wall from the TV back, and this will end up, because it's gonna, we had to come up with how we're gonna, we thought of something maybe like a wall of memories, but it will be strictly dedicated to the members of the past, whether
That's
they
great.
were directors or founders or whatever, the regional charter members, or just an ordinary member.
Well, that's great. And like I said, there's not enough that can be said about people that roll out in the middle of the night and stay. We didn't know how long we were going to be there. Some of us would have to go to work. As soon as they got off work, they didn't get fired. From missing a few days, they'd come back out just like you do today. It's symbolic of all that was done there. Things have, people